we are here to talk about the best mysteries that I read in 2023. I should say, I always say mystery, but it's really the umbrella of crime fiction. So mystery, thriller, suspense, overall literature that has a very strong mystery component. So I end up calling it mystery. I don't know, just anything that I feel like falls more in the mystery, thriller, suspense family of genre versus general fiction, historical, even speculative sometimes. Yeah, that's what this category is. So this was probably my hardest list this year just because I read a lot of things I really enjoyed. And there's not, well, let's say it this way. It was clear what I think my top 8 were, but my last 2 were my 2 slots I had for 4-star reads. And I had a lot of really strong 4-star reads in mystery thriller this year. So that was the one I went back and forth on quite a bit. But I love torturing myself, forcing myself to rank. So this is my forced ranking, even though theoretically, I could just say screw it and do what I want, which I actually did in one case, I guess, kind of. We'll get into it. Anyway, let's start at the bottom as always and just make our way up to the top. I did not do the pre-work this time of sorting these in order, so enjoy me hunting through this stack of hardbacks. Okay, I found it. So, number 10 is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. I wanted to include this because one theme I noticed in books that were really buzzy this year is a kind of metatextual quality to the book. So sometimes people ask me what I mean when I say meta. What I mean by that is it's breaking the fourth wall. It is commenting directly in text in some way about the fact that this is a book, or that these are tropes that we all kind of know how they play out, or that you, the reader, are going to have certain expectations and the book is directly addressing it in the text. That is what it means to be meta, and you will see that in several books in my list this year. I feel like that was a trend, and it's one I really enjoy. I love meta books. In general, that's something I really like. This book, literally in the prologue, tells you the pages where death, like where murderousness happens. It is aware, the framing of it is that it is a book, so it is just incredibly self-aware that if you're a mystery geek like me, you've watched a million of these, 1-hour dramas, crime dramas, you've read a million mysteries and thrillers, the tropes. And this is really just playing with that. So as the title suggests, this is a family where everyone has killed someone. Now, the reasons that they have, and if they really did, there's some ambiguity, but this is a book exploring that. And I am also so excited that there's a follow-up to this that I think is going to be everybody locked together on a train. That comes out in January. I'm really excited for that. So anyway, I just wanted the writing in this was a little rough for me, which is why I gave it a 4 instead of a 4.5. But I appreciated this as a project, and I am intrigued to read more. And I decided this year we're just going to celebrate the fact that publishing is giving me a trope I really love, which is the meta element. My strongest 4-star this year, though, is one that I just read as a part of my reading all the nominees for the Goodreads Choice Awards in mystery thriller, and that is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. S.A. Cosby is just an incredibly talented writer. His prose is beautiful. It's not elaborate, but it's very well observed and has a lot of richness to its themes. This particular book is a small town serial killer thriller, and we have a Black sheriff in a small rural Virginia community where he experiences a lot of racism and has to put up with a lot of BS. He is trying to investigate this school shooting that happened, and the sort of serial killer plot unfolds from investigating the school shooting. This is really poignant. It has beautiful relationships between fathers and sons, which has been a theme in both of the books I've read from him. And this is really cementing him as just an author I need to read more from. His writing is just wonderful. So if you like a police procedural that is a little Like, it's not super fawning over the police necessarily, or it's like aware of the problematic dynamics in play. If you like serial killer thrillers, like all of that, I would definitely recommend this. Very, very good. High literary quality, but still like really reads like genre fiction that's very entertaining. Okay, and then entering our 4.5 star territory, number 8 is Dark Corners by Megan Golden. This is a sequel to Night Swim, which I liked but didn't love. I like this one even better. I think that I was between a 4 and a 4.5, and I just realized the entertainment factor of this one was really high for me. It also has a certain kind of meta quality to it because there is a true crime podcast in here, so sort of awareness of true crime as a genre in the real world. We are following the same character from Night Swim, but this is a different case. In this instance, there's somebody who's gone missing. The FBI comes to her because this person goes missing in a way that is identical to the way other people went missing, but they thought they caught that guy and he's in prison and he asks for her. So things kind of unfold from there. This is also a little bit of a police procedural. But yeah, I just thought the entertainment factor of this one was so high that I had to give it a 4.5 star because I call 4.5 stars my favorites of the year. And this did feel like a favorite of the year. So yeah, really fun. And I'm not invested in the main character, but I like the kinds of books that Megan Golden is putting this character in. So for that reason, I hope it continues. In general, Megan Golden has been a really high success rate for me. I don't think I've ever disliked any of her books. And then number 7 and number 6 are 2 books that I think of as read-alike titles. They have very similar projects in a lot of ways, and they're very meta, like I was talking about, but they also are funny, but the humor is not going to work for everyone. They're sort of like satire, I guess. So number 7 is The Writing Retreat, number 6 is The Last Word. I am going to put Writing Retreat under The Last Word because this one made me laugh out loud, which I appreciated. So The Writing Retreat, my other caveat is I don't actually recommend these to people necessarily. I think I think the humor is specific and the type of meta commentary this has is specific and won't work for everybody. But both of them are very voicey, and for me, they both really worked. So this one is the other thing is that these are both about writing and books. Okay, yeah. So this one is the titular Writing Retreat. This group of women are selected to be mentored by this famous author who's only produced a few sort of like mega hit novels and has sort of like a cult following. So they are invited to this exclusive writing retreat. They are snowed in, somebody goes missing, and they got to figure out what's going on. This has a lot to say about dark female friendship, or like complicated relationships between women, and like the line between, sexuality and friendship in those dynamics. It goes where you think it's gonna go, but it goes for it with a kind of chutzpah that I just couldn't help but really enjoy. This was just a really fun read for me. So this was it was for me, but not for everyone. And similarly, this one is about a woman who is caretaking this house in a rural community, and she leaves a bad review for this author, and this author is coming for her. Or is it the author? Is it somebody pretending to be the author? Like, what's going on? So this sort of dance between reader and reviewer, I think, is fun. This has a book within a book. And like I said, this literally made me laugh out loud several times. So I have to just give it bonus points for that. It is not a book for everyone, especially if the humor doesn't click for you, but I loved the meta quality, and I really enjoyed this. What can I say? Then we have at number 5, Payback and Death. This is one I picked because every time I think that, not that I'm not liking the In Death series, but that the quality is going down, or like my enjoyment of the kind of books that are being written is going down, JD Robb / Nora Roberts always like grabs me and pulls me back in. This particular one reminds me a lot of my favorite book in the entire almost 60 book series at this point, which is Treachery and Death, because it is a corruption on the force plotline, and I just think that JD Robb handles these really well. It's the characters I know and love. We get a little bit of macro payoff in some of those relationships, but not a ton. And yeah, just overall, I'm nearly 60 books in, and I can't believe that I'm still having as much fun with these as I am. These are my comfort reads. Yeah, that's just the bottom line. So I had to put that at number 5. Number 4 is another one I would not have gotten to this year if I hadn't prioritized it for that Goodreads video, and that is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. I put this where I put it because I'm just really impressed with this book. This manages to have a lot of commentary about true crime without kind of having a sneering or smug posture towards people who like true crime. I think people who are trying to do that commentary, if they are sort of coming from a place of not getting why people, not just now, but like from time immemorial, have been fascinated by crime, I think it comes off as very kind of elitist and smug, and I don't know. But that's not what this is. So I should say part of what I think this is doing is one of the big criticisms of true crime is that it centers the perpetrator rather than centering the victims. And that's kind of by virtue of the fact that, especially if there are multiple crimes, the sort of through line is that perpetrator. So narratively, I think that's kind of the easy way out. And Jessica Knoll in this is following the people who are impacted by the crime and manages to create a structure that I think is really fresh and is in itself a critique of true crime. That's what I thought was really impressive and fresh about this book, as well as the writing was lovely. This is a very thinly veiled retelling of the Ted Bundy crimes at Florida State. Our main point of view character is one of the girls in the sorority house, or one of the young women in the sorority house who sees him and becomes a key witness against him, as well as another woman who believes that her lover was killed by him in a different part of the country. So this has a lot of commentary about misogyny and how women were treated, like still are, but like just like the paternalism towards young women. It has interesting things to say about sapphic relationships in the 70s and 80s. Like it's an entertaining book with a lot to say. And like I said, I just really impressed by the actual like framing device of this working so well. Okay, and then my top 4.5 star. I had to pick this because I read this for a project where I was reading Mysteries from Japan, which was just one of my favorite things I did this year. I did what research I could. There's not a ton of like publicly available information about the genre in English, but I enjoyed what I could find out about kind of the mystery traditions of Japan, kind of their origins and trends over the last 100 years. Like, I just enjoyed putting that video together. And the book that I definitely liked the best, because it is very meta, about my all-time favorite trope, which if you're a watcher of this channel, you know, is an isolated closed circle mystery. Everybody gets trapped together and someone's gonna get got. That is what this is, but it's very metatextual about it because it's these members of a mystery club at this university. So like they read all of these books, like kind of the golden age of detective fiction books. They all have nicknames from these famous authors, and they go for a retreat to this kind of infamous island where this murder took place. And somebody has lured them there. So we have their perspective, and then we also have a couple of the members who weren't able to go, who are on the mainland, who increasingly realize something is wrong. And this isn't perfect. I do think that some parts of it feel a little clunky. I'm not totally sure if that's a translation or just writing style, whatever. But I just think that this, again, is really fresh and fun and different and an homage if you love this trope, which I do. This just feels like a love language or a love letter to those of us who love that trope. So this was so fun, and like I said, I love that project. I definitely have some series that I'm continuing on in. Based on that project, I have another book I got from this author. I felt like this definitely had to be my top 4.5 star pick of the year just because the experience was so wonderful. I also read it when I was on a writing retreat for the mystery novel I'm writing, so I think that also made this a particularly fun and enjoyable read. Okay, we get to my 2 5 stars, and I went back and forth on this because these are my 2 favorite books I read this year. Spoilers, I guess, for my overall best of list, but these were my 2 favorite books of the year, and I loved them both. One of them I'm worried is recency bias, but I think I have to pick it because it's just my most memorable experience. I should also say that normally I cut off. So I usually run my best of the year list from the beginning of December of the previous year through the end of November of the following year. And one of these I technically read at the very beginning of December of this year, so it should go on next year's list, but anyway, I'll just stop. Okay, so number 2 is gonna be Wrong Place, Wrong Time. I read this because I did a video at the beginning of 2023 where I was reading some of my favorite booktubers' favorite books of 2022. And this was one that was on Meg with Books' list that was already on my radar, but hearing her talk about how much she loved it pushed me to pick it up. And I loved this book. It has a speculative element because it is a crime that takes place at the beginning, the very first couple pages of the book. It's a mother who watches her son kill someone. And every day when she wakes up, she is further and further in the past. So she is trying to figure out what happened, like why he ended up killing this person, but also she's trying to see if she can change something so that things correct themselves. And it's fun. Like, this is an entertaining mystery, suspensey kind of plot, but it's also so poignant because you are seeing her see these moments she's already lived, but with the benefit of knowing what happens next. And just the amount of like kind of ennui that creates, and just in particular, what just made me weep in this were these beautiful moments with her father, who is passed in the present time, but she sees the last day she was with him. Just, it killed me. But it also, to me, it's like a commentary on the nature of time and how you can never appreciate the moments fully when you're in them. Like, it's always in retrospect that you can really appreciate. So I don't know. This is just beautiful, both from like a thematic point. I think the writing is really nice. I really like this author's writing. I read another book from her, which I didn't like as much, but I still really like the writing. And the character work is great. And also it has all these great themes. So this was just beautiful and I loved it. Okay, and then the best book of the year I'm giving, well, it is the best book of the year, but the best mystery book of the year I'm giving to The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. Go watch the back half of my epic Goodreads video if you want to see like my full process of reading this. But part of why I feel like this has to be the number one is because the process of binge reading the Thursday Murder Club series was just such a rewarding one. This is an actual mystery, which I feel like is so rare to get these big releases for actual mysteries these days. It's the characters. These characters are older and they live in this retirement community and they're all in each other's business and everyone else's business. They investigate these murders. They just, as the books go on, like their world is becoming more and more complicated as they're pissing different people off and new characters come in. Even the baddies are nuanced. Well, some of them, like Connie, for example, if you've read the series, like even the baddies you grow to have like more nuanced feelings about in some cases. This book, if you watch that vlog, you will see, made me weep. I'm talking snot coming out of my nose. I'm talking bright red. I'm talking inconsolable because because all these characters are older. It's just so much about grief and loss in these books and like trying to enjoy what you can at the end of your life. And this is really just devastating in the best possible way. So even though technically I read this in December, so technically it doesn't qualify, I felt like because the reading experience in general happened at the very end of November, I feel like it belongs on this year's list, not next year's list. So this, and then The Man Who Died Twice, which is book 2 in the series, which is also great. That one I gave 4.5 stars to. This I gave 5. I think the first book is the weakest in my opinion. If you wanted to skip it, I think you probably could start with The Man Who Died Twice if you're willing to be a little bit confused about some of the backstory. I think you probably could. And then I also highly recommend doing this in audio because I think the performance helps some of the humor, because that's the other thing, these are really funny. It helps some of the humor come across a little bit easier. So this, I have to say, was my favorite. And the fact that we're not getting another one next year kind of breaks my heart, but I have heard we're getting a different book from him. So hopefully it'll be a new series for me to be obsessed with, but love this. Definitely, it had to be the winner. So with that being said, those were my best crime fiction books, crime fiction reads of 2023. A lot of that was frontlist now that I'm thinking about it. Almost all of it, which I think is a little unusual. Yeah, I mean, most of it was. So I do read a lot of frontlist on mystery, thriller, suspense, but even more so this year. So anyway, I was about to give my disclaimer of like, what I mean is books I read in this time frame, not books released, but almost all these were released in 2023. So there you go. Anyway, we still got a few more lists to come before we get to the end, so strap in, enjoy end of the year Listapalooza here on the Like Woe channel. You know, list like woe. Here we are. So enjoy those. Let me know what some of your favorite mystery crime kind of books were this year, or what you thought about any of the ones I talked about. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!